Hello, here's a request video I got just yesterday on one of my videos. It's called 10 Most Memorable Moments of Living in the Van. So I just typed in just the 10 moments of living in the van that just came to my head first. So I guess that means most memorable because they just came to my head first. So I lived in the van from like October of 2010 until January of 2012, and then from like June 2012 until the beginning of 2013. Yeah, the first thing, and not all of these are just like have directly to do with me living in the van, but I happen to be living in the van when it happened. So the first one is there's actually a couple of them from Las Vegas. The first one that came to my mind was I met this really weird dude in a Starbucks in Las Vegas. I was laying there. I was sitting there, and actually I met a lot of weird people in Starbucks in Las Vegas, dude. A lot of people just start talking to you in Starbucks in Las Vegas, especially this one Starbucks on the western side. But I'm sitting there, and this dude is like starts talking to me, I was busy doing stuff, obviously, because I'm always busy. But for some reason, I just started talking to him. I allowed him to talk to me, and it even distracted me from my work, and he was this like weird dude. He had like scruffy hair, blonde dude, tall blonde guy, young guy, and he was telling me that he was a trader for the stock market, and he worked on his computer just 2 hours a day in the morning, and he made $10,000 a month. But when I looked over at his computer, because he was on the couch next to me, I saw he was just playing like an 80s game, like Dilbert or something. And he had a really old computer, and that's all he's doing. And my ears should have pricked up then, but I told him that I lived in my van and that I was working on my timeline. He's like, "Oh man, I'm gonna donate to your timeline." He's all excited, like acting like a salesperson, like really like overly friendly, and like kissing my ass and all this stuff. And I gave him my phone number because he's like, "Yeah, I travel around a lot too. I have an apartment here in Vegas. I have an apartment in Hawaii, and and you're from Boulder, I was thinking about getting an apartment in Boulder too. And I travel around a lot, so give me your number and I'll give you a call wherever you are," because you travel around. I was like, all right, give my number. And then like he came in the next day and was like, just like, you know when people are like overly friendly to you, but they're annoying, like they come up to you and he kept mentioning my name, Kyle Pounds, like I was some kind of like superstar or something. And like fist bumping and then being like, "Yeah," and then fist bumping me again, and I was like, and just like not acting natural. And then I went and I was in a library. Oh, and he kept talking to me about his girlfriend who he had said, just going way into detail about like his sexual experiences with a girlfriend, how he had mushrooms the last night before with his girlfriend, and he was a teacher and all this stuff. And then I saw him coming out of another Starbucks at another part of town, and he comes up to me and just like is like bragging about like sex with his girlfriend. But then he also told me he was gay or bisexual. But then I was in the library, and he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, I'm investing in something. You want to chip in to help me invest in one of these stock market things?" I'm like, "No." And then he calls, and then he emails me again, and he's like, "Hey, can I borrow $10 from you? I'll pay you tomorrow." And I don't think I answered him. And then he emailed me the next day, and he's like, "Hey, how about that $10?" And yeah, fucking creeped me out. He didn't come back to that Starbucks though, because I was there for another like week or something, and he didn't come back there. But yeah, that was weird. Dude, I met a lot of weird people in Starbucks, man, coming to talk to me. In fact, maybe I should just mention all of them. And this is all in Vegas. I was in a Starbucks in the eastern part of Vegas. This black dude was next to me. And this other black dude came in, and he was passing out like CDs, sample CDs, because he was a rapper from LA. And I was like, what's this guy doing passing out CDs in Vegas on the far eastern side? And like, but then he passes it to the dude next to me, and the dude next to me was all excited, and they're talking about it. He said he was an agent looking for rappers. I was like, what the fuck? And he was like, yeah, dude, we'll get together. And I was like, oh, okay. But he and then he just suddenly turns to me and he goes, hey, you should go to the this coffee shop over on the western side. They're open 24 hours a day, and like people are always getting high out there and stuff. And I was like, really? And anyways, I ended up going there because he told me to, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll go. So I went to this coffee shop on the western side, which is the more affluent side, and there was this hippie dude out there, and he was like, started talking to me, and then I got high with him and his friend, and we were talking about stuff for a while, and he wanted to buy it, like thinking about buying my bike frame because I had my road bike frame on my roof, and it was kind of funny. And then at that same Starbucks on the eastern side, this old guy suddenly starts talking to me about who could barely walk. He could barely walk. He was walking like this. And he starts talking to me about, like, he was really sexist, and he was just talking like a 16-year-old would talk about girls, you know, like, and then Eastern, and like all the girlfriends he's had in his life, and then Eastern, like how the Asian women always get in wrecks, so you don't want to marry an Asian woman because then she'll keep getting in wrecks and she'll drain your wallet from having to fix the car all the time. And he said he got injured. He injured his back in Vietnam War when his like Jeep went over a mine and he blew up, and he was flown like 100 feet, and I guess that's why he couldn't walk. But he was like 80 or something. And then this other like person who I didn't even know. This is the other Starbucks on the western side where I didn't even know somebody. I mean, where I didn't even where I met that crazy dude. But yeah, this person was sitting next to me, and I couldn't. They were in one of these wheelchairs, movable, motorized wheelchairs, and I didn't know if it was a man or a woman. It's kind of a portly type of person. And then all of a sudden they start talking to me, and they're like, yeah, I want to do the talent show. But I need to get on the internet to sign up for it. And then they said that like 3 times or 4 times in a row until I realized they wanted me to do it for them. So I offered, and I signed them up for the talent show. It was like some kind of like American Idol type of thing. And it turned out to be a woman, and she invited me to like hang out with her at her house and stuff. And then at that same Starbucks, this other guy started talking to me, and he was some kind of like, he started talking about some conspiracy theory magazine. He was talking about like how he liked to listen to like David Icke and stuff, and then he would like talk on the phone. He was some kind of like business advisor or something, and he'd go and talk on the phone, and then he'd leave for like an hour, and he'd just be gone, and his computer would be there, and finally come back, and I mean, like, and he had like an external hard drive that he hadn't backed up for like 10 years, and he lost all of his information, his like business information on it, and he was trying to figure out how to like find people who could get the information off of his hard drive that he didn't have backed up, and and then this other Israeli dude tried to start talking to me, and I told him about my timeline, but he was kind of probing me, but I didn't really want to talk, and so he didn't really push me, But yeah, man, people in Las Vegas are like really outgoing, insanely outgoing. And then this other dude, I was sitting in a library or a community center area, and this dude was sitting next to me and started talking to me, and he lived in a big Winnebago out there in the Strip for like 15 years, and he had a daughter who was going in and like hanging out with him, who was like 13 or something. Dude, there are some weird people in Las Vegas. But anyways. So that's the first thing. Sorry, that took a while. But then actually I have another thing from Las Vegas that just popped to mind, and that was sleep. That was, which one was that? That was number 8, sleeping in Hughes Field in Las Vegas. Howard Hughes, I guess, owns this big field, because I was sleeping in this big field. It was like this gravelly field in the western part of Las Vegas, and I parked out there in the middle of it because I just liked parking in the middle of like where there's nobody around me. It's peaceful. And I was in this Starbucks, and there were these cops come in, and I came up to the cop, and I just asked him what he thought about me sleeping in that field, like if it was legal. And he's like, well, it's Howard Hughes Field. And it's, I mean, technically it's private property, but if nobody's bothering you, then go ahead and do it. So, anyways, I just remember that because it was like sleeping in the middle of a city, but you get this whole field, giant field to yourself. Okay, so number 2, cops putting me in cuffs. When I first started living in my van, I showed up at this Walmart, and it was a Walmart that you can't camp out in, but I suited up on my bike, so I was going to ride my bike to the top of Mount Lemmon, and it was like afternoon. I had to get going, and then all of this, like literally, like I'm all suited up as I'm closing my door to leave. My door is sliding. Before I even managed to close the door, like cop car comes up to me. The cops come up to me and they're like, "Hey, we have like a mentioning of you, like somebody says that you stole somebody's wallet or something like that." And I was like, "Really? I'm in a purse or something like that," and bought a bunch of shit. And I was like, "Do you mind if we search your car?" And I was like, "Sure." So they put me in cuffs in their cop car, and there's this like Hispanic lady sitting in a car, like a couple car parking lots over, and she had borrowed a pin from me like 10 minutes beforehand, and she never gave it back to me, but I forgot to get it back, so I was just about to leave, and I was like, and they were searching my car for like an hour, and there were like 3 cop cars with like 5 cops or something, and you know, they were searching my rocket box. It was full, and my car was loaded with stuff. I had tons of shit in there that they had to sift through. And I was like, "Who called you?" And they're like, "We can't tell you." And I was like, "Is that lady in the car, huh?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, she has my pin. Can you get my pin back from her?" So they got my pin. But anyways, at the end, they decided it wasn't me, and they let me go. And then like 3 weeks later, I was in the Starbucks in Tucson, and she came up to me. I didn't recognize her, but she came up to me and she's like, "Oh, I feel so bad. I'm sorry for calling the cops on you. It's just that, I don't know. And I was like, "Well, did they find the culprits or whatever?" She's like, "I don't know. They didn't trust me to give advice on who I thought it was after that." So, but the cops told me that they had like reports that it was a couple black dudes were seen in the area. Because somebody bought a bunch of stuff at that Walmart with their credit card. Anyways, that was the second thing that I remembered. The third thing that came to my mind was freezing my ass off showering in the desert. When I first started living in my van, I was in Moab, and it was in October, and it was kind of getting cold. And I was mountain biking. I was like, so I'd go mountain biking, and then I'd be all dirty. And, you know, I was sleeping in the middle of the desert, so I had to have a shower before I sleep. And it'd be nighttime, and I'd be having one of those, you know, those hang solar showers, but it was freezing, man. And just being there, like, okay, be strong, and whew, if you're going to be camping in the middle of the desert when it's cold, you got to have some kind of system together where you can have a warm shower. Okay, number 4, the cop in the Bellingham saying that I can sleep in the neighborhood. I was in Bellingham, Washington. It's the northernmost, like, bona fide town in the western coast, probably in America. And it's like 45 minutes south of the border, and I was in one of these like neighborhoods, and I went into this cul-de-sac in a neighborhood where, like, I guess it's a cul-de-sac built for when they want to build houses later. And I was there for a couple weeks, and this cop comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, what you doing here?" And I was like, "I was just living in my van, working on my timeline." He's like, "Oh, okay, well, you're legal to live here in your van just as long as you move it once every 24 hours. See ya." And I was like, "Okay." So I was like, "Oh," but he said he came up because he got calls that there are people doing drugs in the area. So I don't know, maybe somebody called the cops on me, but I thought that was cool because I was like, them just telling it's cool to live in your van in like a neighborhood parked in the same place all the time. I thought that was fucking badass. Okay, number 5. The fucker's not letting me in Canada. Yeah, dude, not being allowed in Canada. That was trippy, dude. I thought you could just drive into Canada because in 2010 I bike toured all over Europe, and I just passed through all the countries in Europe, no problem. I passed through all the countries in every place in the world, South America, Asia. You can just pass into another country, and like Canada is like America. So I thought I'd be able to just go into Vancouver, but I go to the border, and the first, I thought I was just going to get stamped in and drive in. The lady, first of all, she's like, She's like, what are you trying to go to Canada for? And I was like, well, I mean, Vancouver's a town. I like to check out new towns and new cities. There's a Gold's Gym up there. And she's like, is that the only reason you're going? And I was like, no. And she's all, turn off the car. And she was being a bitch. And then she made me go and walk in the thing. And the guy's all like looking at me like I'm a criminal, man. This cop looking dude looking at me like I'm a fucking criminal and searches my car. And he's like, you can't come in. I was like, yeah, it freaked me out. I was like, what the fuck? No, you're going to get lost in Canada. How do I know you're not going to get lost? I was like, look at my website. Go on the internet. Look at my website, dude. And I'll prove to you. Look at my YouTube channel. I'll prove to you I'm a traveler. That's what I do. Is there any suggestion anywhere, like on my YouTube, and, you know, and you look at the dates of me getting lost somewhere? And they're like, we don't do that. So it's weird. The NSA, they spy on us. They use all this technology and all this money to spy on us, but they don't even fucking bother to go on the internet and see if you're just a traveler who wants to go, and they don't understand. You just want to go and check out Vancouver for a couple of weeks. Fucking ridiculous. Anyways, so that was the third thing. And the reason they didn't let me in was because I didn't have proof of address, because I lived in my van, and I told them. So if you're going to try to get into Canada, you gotta tell them, don't tell them you live in a van, tell them you live in a house, and you have to provide like all the utility bills of the house and all that shit. Okay, number 6, Kings Ridge in Seattle, camping on the side of the park. Yeah, that's just kind of one thing that just popped to my head. I was in Seattle, and there's like downtown Seattle, and then you go up, and like Seattle's really steep. It's kind of like San Francisco, and there is this like ridge. It gets really steep, and then it goes down, and at the very top is this park called Carpenter Park or something like that. I can't remember, but and then if you go down, there's this kind of like central area. There's a Gold's Gym, and there's this, and it was just, I would park in the park, on the side of the park. There's always parking, and you know, it was totally chill. And then I would just walk down, which was like, I don't know, a 10-minute walk down, and the library was right next to the gym. So I go in. That was when I first started. What was I doing in the gym? I was stretching in the gym, and like I worked out one day, and then I go into the library, and I just thought it was really cool, man, because I was like living in this really cool, like hip part of its inner city, and living out of my van, you know, like, you know, it was just, it's awesome when you live in the center of a city, and like the really hip part, just, you know, hanging out there, you know, with all the, you know, and the cool scenery, and you're living in your van, and it's easy. That was cool. I like Seattle. And I was riding my bike around, checking out the city and stuff. Okay, let's see. Number 7, working at night in Denny's in Tucson. Yeah, that's an image that comes to me. When I first started living in my van, I did not have it figured out. I was spending a lot more money than I was towards the end. I was totally nocturnal. I was working on my timeline, and I was just like sleeping in really late in my van. And like just, you know, like usually right outside of the city limits on big cul-de-sacs and different places, and well, then I found one place which was kind of in this old parking lot that people didn't really drive by much, and so then I'd go into the Denny's at night, and I'd just be up all night long working at Denny's until like sunrise, and they had internet there, and then getting like nachos and getting salads and spending like $20 a day on food there. And I was like, and I thought I had it down. I was like, I'm living in the van, and I'm up all night long and spending $20 a day at Denny's. And then, you know, by the end, I figured out the best way to do it is you have to get up at crack of dawn, because that's a lot healthier. You're like a normal person, and you work at the library or the Starbucks where you don't have to spend that much money. When I was in Seattle, I was spending maybe like $5 a day on Starbucks. I wasn't totally chinsing them, but it's a lot cheaper than $20 a day at Denny's, and I was, and then the libraries and stuff, and eating just canned food, you know. So yeah, that was just. Oh, and then not showering too. I mean, that's before I had a gym. I thought I'd save money by not having a gym membership. I'm saving $30 a month, but spending $20 a day on Denny's. Ridiculous. Oh man, I can't wait to live in my van again. Once I pay off my friend, I'm definitely gonna live in the van again. Okay. I'll be here for another year though. I'll work all of next summer. It's going to take me forever to pay off my friend. Okay. Yeah. Number 8, sleeping in Hughes Field in Las Vegas. I already talked about that. Number 9, watching blockbuster movies every night in the field in Sacramento. When I lived in Sacramento, that was a really cool time because there was this big field that I would just camp in, and so I love camping in big fields because you're just totally peaceful and you feel like you're camping, but you're right there in the middle of the city. This was in Natomas, northern Sacramento, and there's this giant Gold's Gym. That's where I first started getting a gym membership too. So it was when I first started to have more quality living in the van. I wasn't getting nasty, dirty, and taking showers once every 3 weeks. So I was going into the gym, and I think I was even working out. Yeah, I was working out, and I was walking on the treadmill, working on my computer for the first time, and stretching in the gym and working out a little bit, and then I go into these Starbucks, and they were always giving these deals. Like they had some kind of special where you could rent movies for like $1. So I was getting all these dollar movies and watching like I watched The Tudors. That's when I first got into Spartacus, and I was getting movies, and it was the first time where I was really living it up. Because because I got a new battery for my car, so I could charge I could play movies in my car and stuff. Yeah, and that was cool. And let's see. Now I'm thinking about climbing Shasta. I climbed Shasta too. That was pretty cool. Okay, and then number 10, not remembering where I slept in Pheonix. Yeah, dude. I was in Pheonix for 3 weeks, and for some reason I always remember, wherever I go, I always remember where I camped. I always remember neighborhoods where I camped in areas, but in Pheonix, for some reason, I don't remember, like, any of the places I camped. I remember one place, it was a Walmart, and, like, that's it. I don't remember where the hell I was camping. I must have just parked on the side of the road and camped, but it's just bizarre that I don't even remember. But I remember Pheonix. I liked Pheonix. Pheonix was really nice. Peaceful place. Not too much traffic, really good infrastructure, nice big signs and paved roads, and yeah, they have that mountain on the south you can drive up and overlook Pheonix. I did that at like before sunrise. That was cool, but yeah, it was just bizarre not remembering where I slept. So those are the main things remembering living in my van. You remember more stuff when you live in your van when you're moving around a lot. And when you're doing it right, like when you find a really cool place and it's chill. So, yeah. Okay, peace out.